Are the Chicago Bears alive in the NFC North, but they still don't seem quite ready to take the division? I want to talk about the NFC North power rankings and whether or not the Bears are ready to take over the division. The Bears' long term plan is to take the North and never give it back. In year four of the rebuild, most of us would expect this team to be a bit further along in their path to winning. But being in the best division in the NFL, things don't come very easily. Heading into week six, every team in the NFC North is at least 500 or better, and the Chicago Bears might be 2-2, but we remain in last place in our division. During the bye week, we lost ground as both the Lions and Vikings won their matchups. I want to quickly rank the four teams after the first quarter of the NFL season. The Bears are coming out of a bye week, and the Lions remain the class of the division. I want to take a look at where everybody stands after the first quarter of the season. The Lions are setting at 4-1. They have 79% chance to make the playoffs and 9% Super Bowl odds. The Packers are coming in at second. They have a 77% chance to make the playoffs and 7% Super Bowl odds. The Vikings remain in third. Setting at 3-2, they have a 37% chance to make the playoffs and 2% odds to make the Super Bowl. The Bears, meanwhile, are lowest in the division again at 2-2 with just a 17% chance to make the playoffs and less than 1% odds to make the Super Bowl. Let's go ahead and talk about each team. It's no surprise to anyone that the Detroit Lions remain the class of this division. The NFC North is probably the best division in football, and the Lions are one of the better teams in the entire league. They've won 4 straight since losing the season opener to the Packers. They play on Sunday Night Football on the road against the Chiefs. A huge test for the Lions this week, but they still remain the class of our division. Right now, the Packers are the biggest challenge to the Lions. Right now, the biggest challenger in the NFC North are the Green Bay Packers. They beat the Lions in week 1, and through the first 2 weeks of the season, they look like one of the best teams in the NFL. But they won both of those games at home, and since then it's been 3 weeks, but since then they haven't won a game in nearly a month. The Packers' last win was September 11th against the Commanders. Since then, they lost to the Browns on the road, and then they had a tie against the Cowboys, followed by a bye week in week 5. So the Bears have won twice since the Packers' last victory. This week, the Packers have a home game against the Bengals without Joe Burrow. We'll find out a lot more about this Packers team over the next 3 weeks. The biggest question is, can they win on the road? So far, they have yet to win a road game this year. They have matchups against the Cardinals and Steelers coming up on the road over the next 3 weeks. To me, the Packers are an enigma, but they have a lot of talent and a really good coaching staff. So as of right now, they remain the second best team in our division. And then we get to the Minnesota Vikings, another playoff team that is actually playing really well with Carson Wentz starting in place of J.J. McCarthy. The Vikings won again on Sunday and moved the Bears into last place in the division again. Now, this is the team that the Bears need to get ahead of. They're well coached and have a lot of talent, but they have more holes than the Packers or Lions. They also have question marks at quarterback. J.J. McCarthy has missed 20 games so far in his career, and he's only started 2 games. He's dangerously close to getting labeled as injury prone. Meanwhile, for the Vikings, they've let Kirk Cousins, Daniel Jones, and Sam Darnold walk out of the door just to give the keys of the franchise to J.J. McCarthy. Now, even Carson Wentz is looking good for the Vikings. To me, it's Kevin O'Connell who's the QB whisperer. He's clearly one of the best play callers in the league, and as of today, the Vikings are still the third best team in the NFC North. Now, it's clear to me that the Bears are better than they were in 2024. After just 4 games, we have improved. But are the Bears ready to compete for the NFC North? Not so fast. Our biggest thing keeping us from competing right now is our run defense. It simply has to be better. You can't win a lot in the NFL if you can't stop the run. But right behind that is our lack of a pass rush. Our roster is a lot better than what we've seen on the football field. But you don't win games on paper. You win games on Sundays, sometimes Mondays and Thursdays. But so far, we're not getting the impact from the guys we're paying big money for on this defensive line. We're a better football team right now with Ben Johnson as our head coach, but are we good enough to compete in the NFC North? We might still be a year away from that, but I'm not writing these guys off yet. Let's see how the return of a couple of big impact players affects these guys. Will Kyler Gordon, TJ Edwards, and Austin Booker be just what the doctor ordered? We can hope, but right now the Bears are still the fourth best team in the division. However, I do believe the gap between us and the Vikings and the teams ahead of them has closed significantly, and we have the potential to be a much better team than Minnesota over the next 4 or 5 weeks. Can we compete with the Lions and Packers, though? That's the biggest question for this team going forward. We need to compete against those teams, and our first matchup against the Lions did not inspire much confidence. But the bottom line is this: the Bears are a better football team now than they were last season, but the chances of taking the NFC North in 2025 seems like a long shot after 5 weeks. The Bears still have a great shot to contend for a wild card spot, but they need the Lions and Packers to struggle, or they need to take a significant step forward in order to have a chance to compete for the division title this season. My Profit X pick of the week does include Caleb Williams throwing for 2 TD passes on Monday night. I also love it if you can get the Bears at plus 3.5 or 4 points. I'm cautiously optimistic that we can keep this game close. This is a potential statement game for Ben Johnson and some of the younger players on the roster. Rome Odunze, Caleb Williams, Tyreek Stevenson, and more. But if you haven't signed up for America's #1 sports prediction market yet, use promo code SWIFT, take advantage of the bonus offer, and comment your picks below. Don't miss out. Sign up today. But Ben Johnson said it himself. He's a big fan of both Jaden Daniels and Caleb Williams, but Caleb's talent was part of the reason he chose to come here. Do you expect the Bears to win? Let me know your predictions in the comments below. And I'm not just saying that, guys. I think the NFC North is going to be a bloodbath again. So I am really interested in hearing your guys' comments. Maybe we'll revisit the comments section on this later in the season. As always, I appreciate everyone who watches. Please remember to hit that like button for me to support the channel. Stay tuned, and until next time, bear down.